Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Yasin, and really sorry for taking like 10 billion years to make this video, but you know, better late than never. Here I am with the K9 Crystron combo video and deck profile that you guys have been asking for so long, and I think this deck is really good. This deck is actually more consistent than K9 Vanquish Soul, because unlike K9 Vanquish Soul, your K9 engine can bridge into Crystron, and obviously your Crystron engine can bridge into K9. You're always playing like K9 and Crystron at the same time, regardless of the hand that you play. And that's something that I really like about this deck. It's very explosive, very powerful, and it can still play a huge amount of non-engine cards. Like, technically, you can play upwards of like 19, potentially 20, but then you don't have a lot of like good options in your deck. Like, you're only playing like one tuner and then no quick play spell. But I will be showcasing a version that plays 17 non-engine and still plays a lot of, you know, the good engine cards that allow you to make some really nasty boards when you go first. And basically just, you know, FTK the crap out of your opponent. So that's obviously something that I will always take any day of the week. But yeah, like I said, this deck is really cool. Huge fan. Like I said, it's one of the best decks in the format. And that's the reason why I made a K9 spreadsheet, including some K9 Vanquish Soul and K9 combos. So you can find it on my website, yacineygo.com. There's also a Yummy spreadsheet, as well as a Dragon Tail spreadsheet, and also a full Justice Hunters spreadsheet that combines all three spreadsheets. So instead of like paying $20 US for all three, you know, 3 times, you pay 35, and then you get access to everything. So a total of 225 combos for like 4 different decks. Really recommend checking it out. I did it in collaboration with Lucas Sacco, so huge shout outs to him. And yeah, again, it's the very first link at the top of the description box below. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, so combo number 1, let's just say we have a K9 Joe Cool, as well as any level 5 monster in the game. Can be anything. So you go special summon and then effect search the Lantern. This does play a little bit into Drool, but if you want to play around Drool, then you just don't search with Lantern, and then you make the Ripper, and then you go Ripper effect. But that plays super hard into Imperm, so that's the only issue. But yeah, if you respect Drool, this is what you should do, so don't search. But if you respect Imperm, then you do have to search, so that worst case your Ripper gets stopped. It's fine. You can still go Lantern effect, and then you go search, and then make a rank 5. It's not gonna be the end of the world. But yeah, anyways, Ripper effect, search the Izuna, and then Lantern effect, revive back, and then Lantern effect, search the Case of K9, and then Case of K9, search a second Izuna. So this is something really cool that I've discovered. So if you want to play around hand traps to the best of your ability, you can search a second Izuna, so that at any moment, if you get hand trapped, you can go Izuna effect, send the Lupus, revive back, and then make a rank 5 on your own turn. And then you still have an Izuna in your hand for the next turn, so you can make another rank 5 again. So it's really broken. You can make like a Vimana and a Valon the Psychic Scab Blaster. So just like a free way of beating like multiple hand traps. And there is a way to get access to the quick play spell card, even though we didn't search it at any moment. And you're gonna see why in just a second. And it's something particular about like my deck list and the way I'm, you know, playing the Crystron deck. But anyways, overlay for the Infinite Track River Stormer. And this is like one of the best things about this deck. The fact that you can bridge from Crystron to, from K9 to Crystron with this card is remarkable. So we're going to be searching the Scrap Recycler. This card has a non-once per turn effect on normal or special summon to send a machine monster from your deck to the grave. It's remarkable because the fact that it's not once per turn allows you to loop its effect again with the Clockwork Knight, and then you can send another machine monster. So you're going to be going for a double dump. The first one is going to be Thistvern, and then the second one is going to be Solfnir, and then Thistvern is going to be searching for the Smiger. Make an SP Low Knight. This insulates us even more from like a combination of hand traps, so if the opponent tries to go like Nib Imperm, well, the SP is extremely good in that context. But yeah, anyway, Smiger, discard off of the Solfnir, and then effect. Destroy, summon the Sulfidol, and then effect, send the Inclusion as well as the Tristalos. Banish the Smiger to search the Inclusion, search the Cluster, and then banish Inclusion to revive back the Tristalos, and then Synchro Summon for the El Skeletus. Recycle back the Inclusion from the banished, and then Tristalos effect to banish itself in order to destroy the El Skeletus to summon Praseodol from the deck as well as Solfnir. And then El Skeletus effect, summon back the Tristalos and banish. This is where it gets really interesting. So if you're playing Praseodol, it adds 2 additional disruptions to your end board. On top of, you know, like all the Izunas that you're searching. It's crazy card advantage because now you can go Sulfidol, destroy the Inclusion, make Nova, and then Infinity. And I'm like the only human on Earth who plays the deck this way. But you can go Praseodol effect, destroy the Case of K9 to summon the second Tristalos so that you can make a Corn Gondrax. And Case of K9 allows you to set the X-Force Liberation from your deck to your field whenever it is destroyed by card effect, including your own card effect. And then we have like so much space on, well, we have way too many monsters on our field, so we're just gonna go, okay, Infinity attaches to Praseodol, so make sure you always summon it in attack, and then we're gonna call it a turn. So obviously, if you don't play Praseodol, the difference is gonna be that you can't destroy the Case of K9, so you can't search the second Izuna. You're gonna have to search the X-Force Liberation instead. It's not like a huge difference because you're still making a massive board, but That's something to keep in mind because I believe this should be 9 disruptions. So obviously SP is 1 disruption, and then Tristalos summoning level 5, make Quaran Gondrax, so that's 2 because you're banishing 3 cards. And then Infinity, so 3, and then Ripper negate a monster effect in hand or graveyard, so 4. And then the Izuna makes a rank 5, so 5. And then Cluster destroys 2 cards on the field because you're making Quaran Gondrax, so that's 6. And then you also have the X-Force Liberation that can pop a card and also summon Werewolves, so that's 2 extra pops. 2 extra disruptions. So that's that should be 8 disruptions in total, which, it's not too bad, right? I will definitely take that any day of the week. And that was, a very simple combo. It's really just Joe Cool and any level 5. And this deck gets to, abuse this better than any other deck in the game. Alrighty, for combo number 2, this time I'm going to be showing the exact opposite. So what happens if you draw, your Crystron combo, and then you're trying to bridge into K9? Well, every path leads to Rome, of course. So normal summon Scrapper Cycler in this example. Discard the Tristalos, summon back the Sulfnir, and then self-destruct. This is going to be summon number 3, by the way. So count the amount of summons with me, because every combo that I showcase on my spreadsheet, it beats hand traps incredibly well. So that's the reason why, again, I really recommend checking it out. In case you're interested, it's on my website, yacineygo.com, very first link at the top of the description. And your Sulfador is going to be sending the Thistvern as well as the Inclusion. Really important that you send the exact same cards as me. And then Inclusion banish itself, revive back the Sulfnir. This was summon number 4, so Ripper is going to be summon number 5, so it plays around Nibiru. And then Ripper effect detach, very specifically the Sulfador. We do need it in the graveyard since we never used its in a hand or in grave effect. But yeah, search the Jokul and then banish the Thisvern so that we can search any level 5, really. It can be Sulfnir or Sulfador, doesn't matter. And then Jokul effect summon both, and then Jokul is going to be searching for the Lantern, and then link off the Scrapper Cycler for the Clockwork Knight, and then get rid of the other level 5 that was on the field, revive back the Tristalos. And this is where it gets really interesting. So you can actually synchro summon off with that Jokul. So that's nice. You're not only using the K9 monsters for Xyz summons, but also synchro summons because they're still level 5. And then recycle back the Inclusion from the Banished that we never activated. So now we can activate it and search the cluster that way. So it's funny how this combo doesn't get Smyger in rotation, but we still get to search the cluster in a really crafty way. But yeah, Lantern effect, summon itself back, and then revive back the Jokul. And then search your deck for a case of K9. Case is going to be searching Izuna. And then link off for SP Old Knight. Tristalos effects summon Prassiorol as well as Sulfnir. Revive back the Tristalos or the Banished. And then make a Dragster. And then Sulfador destroy the Inclusion in order to revive itself back and make Nova. And then Infinity. And then Prassiorol destroy the case of K9. Summon the Tristalos from the deck. And then case of K9 is going to be setting X-Force Liberation. And then Infinity absorb the Prassiorol. So this is 9 disruptions. So every single card that you're seeing is a disruption, except X-Force Liberation is 2 disruptions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because obviously it pops a card, but then it also summons Werewolf, which also, looks at the hand and then banishes a card until the end phase. So you had 9 disruptions off of, pretty much just any generic 2-card combos. This is super, super easy to achieve. There's infinite combinations that allow you to pull this off. It is remarkable. Alright, so for this combo, I'm going to be showing something that is actually not on my spreadsheet because I'm going to be doing something just a little different, but honestly, it's very similar to what I showcased anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much, but it's like a post-game 1 kind of thing, and that's the reason why I didn't showcase it, just because it utilizes 2 side deck cards, and one of them you can kind of argue might be worth considering in the main deck. It's actually a floodgate against certain decks, but anyways, the Jokul effect, summon the Sulfador. This combo plays through 3 hand traps. It's absolutely disgusting. Your opponent can have 3 Veiler and it's not going to be enough. But yeah, Sulfador, send the Smyger as well as the Thisvern. And then obviously the searches for the Lantern. You could have also just not searched, honestly, at this point. But yeah, anyways, search the case of K9, search the Izuna. This sequencing exactly is what I'm trying to do for this very specific board that you're going to see. It's kind of weird, but it makes sense. Anyways, Lantern, summon itself, and then search for the X-Force Liberation. As you can see, I'm now trying to do the exact same play where I'm going for double Izuna, and then, not search the X-Force Liberation and then destroy it. So yeah, spoiler alert, I will not be destroying the case of K9 in this combo, but I'm going to be doing something else. So Infinite Shrek River Stormer, search the Scrapper Cycler, and then effect, send the Sulfnir. So at this point, I've got 3 Crystron cards in my graveyard. That's a lot. And yes, Smyger search for the Inclusion, and then Inclusion search for the Cluster, and then Thisvern is going to be searching for another level 5. And then Clockwork Knight is going to be pitching the case of K9 to search another Clockwork Knight. To search a Clockwork Knight, and then link off for SP. And then Sulfnir discard the level 5. So yeah, Sulfador. It had to be this, just because the other Sulfador was underneath the Ripper. But if you negated a monster effect, then it didn't really have to be anything specific. But yeah, self-destruct, and then summon the Tristalos, and then Sulfador destroy the Inclusion, revive cell back, make the El Skeletus, recycle back the Thisvern, and then Tristalos destroy. So yeah, summon Prasiodal, and then Eleskeletus summon the Tristalos, and then overlay for Nova, and then Infinity, and then activate the Clockwork Knight. So here, if you don't want to play Prasiodal, one thing that you can do that is pretty cool is that you can negate the activation of your own Clockwork Knight, so it goes to the graveyard. Or you can, obviously in this context, just go Prasiodal Destroy, and then summon Sitri from the deck, and then go Infinity Absorb, and then Clockwork Knight, pitch the Thisvern that you recycled back, and then you can search for Regulus, and then Regulus effect, equip itself, well, summon itself, and then summon back a machine, well, I mean, equip back a machine from the graveyard. So, off of 2 cards, this is 10 disruptions. Again, every single card that you can see on the field, except for Solfnir, is a disruption. It is ridiculous. So yeah, SP with Tristalos that can make a Quorum Gondrax because, you know, we're gonna go Sitri, revive back at 5, make Dragster, we go Negate, it becomes level 5, and then we go Cluster, shuffle back the Sitri, pop a card, and then we can go Tristalos, summon Sitri, so 2, 2, and 5, make Quorum Gondrax, banish 3 cards. So yeah, that's 3 disruptions there, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10. 10 disruptions off of 2 cards. This is unreal, and this is something that you can do with the deck list that I'm about to show you in 3 seconds. Now, that was actually shorter than 3 seconds. Anyway, so this is my current deck list. I am playing 17 non-engine. I think this is a really clean list, honestly, if you want to play, you know, a decent amount of Crystron cards and, you know, not lose the nature of this deck, because some people have been messing around with, you know, no Thisvern at all, and then obviously no Prasiodal, only 1 Tristalos, like 2 Synchro monsters, like 1 Dragster, 1 Eleskeletus, and that's it. But then you were playing more of a K9 deck than you were playing a Crystron deck, which, honestly, as a Crystron fan myself, I'm not a big fan of. I do like playing my Crystron cards just because when you do get stopped and when you gotta make, like, half boards that are only, like, Crystron stuff, you do have to play a decent amount of them in order to do something substantial. And that's the reason why I do like to have somewhat of a minimal, you know, Crystron count in order to make the deck actually functional, you know, just as a pure deck. So I think these ratios do make a lot of sense. But if you really want to push it, one thing that you can do is you can cut Prasiodal completely, and then cut the second Tristalos, cut the Quorum Gondrax, potentially cut the second Eleskeletus, but I would still keep Dragster, because you can still make like 1 Dragster and then revive back the Tristalos with like Inclusion, and then Tristalos would still be able to, you know, make another Dragster. So even with 1 Tristalos, you can play 2 Dragsters, no problem, but you wouldn't play Quorum Gondrax because you do need at least 2 Tristalos. But if you want to play like Sitri, then you can make like double Dragster and Quorum Gondrax. So you can go through like pretty much every single card in the extra deck in like 1 single turn, except for like the Hagoita and the second Eleskeletus. But this is like a contingency play against like certain decks, like against Raziel, for example, or other like rank 4 whatever strategies. I think everything makes sense for the most part. I'm playing 14 hand shops as well, 3 droplets, so Izuna counts as a hand shop, even though sometimes it's actually a consistency card, because you would get hit by like Artifact Lancia on your draw phase, and then you just want to give your opponent a hug, because if you didn't get hit by Lancia, you would have been screwed. So yeah, if your opponent Lancias you on standby, it's really hard to lose. Same thing with like if you get hit by like Perulia on draw phase. It also helps you out a lot for unbreaking certain bad hands. I've seen actually a game where a guy only won the game because he got Lancia on standby, and his hand was like Izuna and 4 blanks, like 4 fake cards, and now the Izuna is live for no good reason. So instead of being like a reactive hand shop, it became like a proactive 1-card starter. So yeah, do keep that in mind. This card's much better than you give it credit for. But yeah, I am back and forth on like 3 Solfnir, 2 Solfador, or like the other way around. It does depend on like your count of like K9 stuff and like the strategy of your deck, but I think for like this version, maybe like 3 and 2 is correct, or like the other way around. Doesn't really matter too much, honestly. That's something that you're gonna have to figure out on your own. And then obviously Foolish, Case, Lantern, Lupus, etc. Everything makes sense here. And yeah, 3 Droplet could also just be 3 hand shops. It could be 3 Droll, it can be 3 Chaotic Elements even, because this card is a starter as well. I mean, a semi-starter, I guess. You still need 2 cards in order to play the game. But it's also a board breaker against Raziel, because you can steal Detonator. So that's the reason why this card has been seeing a lot of play this format. So for the extra deck, obviously 1 Quorum Gondrax, 2 Eleskeletus, 2 Dragsters, 1 Hagoita. There are some combos, like for example, if you draw like Smiger and Inclusion, and then you go activate Inclusion, and then you get ashed on the Inclusion, you can't do much if you're not playing Hagoita. But if you do, you can go normal summon Smiger, effect destroy the Inclusion, summon Tristalos, so that you got a 3 and a 2. You can make the Hagoita and then banish the Tristalos, and then destroy the Hagoita, summon Tristalos number 2 from the deck, as well as the Solfador from the deck. And then, you know, you can start playing the game from there. So that's one really cool thing that you can do. But it's not gonna come up like super often, and hopefully it doesn't come up often at all. Otherwise, you know, it's not gonna be too well for you. But yeah, that's a nice play to keep into consideration. It's just that you can't do like K9 stuff if you do that. Anyways, the one Werewolf, the one Ripper, the Valon the Psychic Skyblaster, Chronomaly Vimana, Infinite Track Reverse Stormer, Infinity Nova, SP, and Clockwork Knight. You go through every single one of these cards, honestly. And then for the side deck, if you want to go first and have like even more gas, you can do one Sitri with one Regulus and one Clockwork Knight, so that's searchable. And Clockwork Knight is super easy to search with Clockwork Knight, so if you draw like Rivalry, it's like impossible to lose, so that's like the FTK. Call by the Grave, obviously, that's a no-brainer. And then Chaotic Elements, so if you want to, you can do like 2 to 3 Chaotic Elements, and then like not even consider Sitri, but like main deck 1 over like the Prassiodol, and like maybe main deck 2 over 1 Prassiodol over 1 Tristalos, and then you can side like other stuff instead. And then obviously Artifact Lancia is always going to be a thing. Drill and Logbird in this format I think is pretty important. And then finally, you can do like 2 Pancratops, 1 Duster, like 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster. Really up to you, really up to like how the format shapes up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but let me know how you feel about K9 Crystron in the comment section below. Do you also love the deck like I do? I want to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.